When a woman is ready to offer her body, her time, and a deeper form of feminine surrender, she usually won't say it directly. There is rarely a clear, "I'm ready." Instead, her communication becomes quieter. Her body starts speaking where words stop. If you're attentive, you'll notice it, not through anything loud, but through subtle shifts in behavior, tone, eye contact, and presence. Attraction rarely arrives with clarity. It shows up in fragments, pauses, and in how she behaves when nothing obvious is happening. Some men miss it because they wait for explicit confirmation. But genuine attraction is layered, psychological, and indirect. Feminine desire often reveals itself through behavior long before it becomes verbal. When interest is absent, she maintains distance. Her posture is closed, movements controlled, and energy neutral. But when attraction is present, something changes gradually. She doesn't rush closer. It happens subtly, almost unconsciously, as if her body is being drawn in. You may notice her orientation shifting toward you, knees angled your way, torso facing you even while speaking to others. Psychologists call this proximity-based orientation. People naturally align their bodies toward what feels emotionally significant. This isn't only physical. Her energy softens. Her laughter becomes more natural. Her voice loses tension. When a woman feels safe and drawn in, her nervous system stops preparing for resistance. Eye behavior is another key signal. Instead of steady gaze, you often see brief eye contact followed by a quick look away. That interruption is not disinterest. It can be emotional activation, a moment of vulnerability she doesn't hold for long. You may also notice unconscious self-soothing gestures, touching her hair, adjusting jewelry, or lightly brushing her collarbone. These are regulatory behaviors that appear when emotion rises faster than control. Attraction is rarely physical first. It begins with emotional safety. Before surrender, there is trust. Before trust, testing. That testing appears in conversation. She shares more personal details, memories, fears, emotional experiences she doesn't casually reveal. This is selective vulnerability. She is not just speaking. She is observing your response and asking, without words, "Is this safe?" She also begins to study you more deeply, how you handle pressure, conflict, and discomfort. Emotional safety matters more than attraction alone in determining openness. As emotional connection builds, the nervous system reacts. Subtle nervous laughter, fidgeting, and heightened expressiveness may appear. This is activation, the body responding to emotional significance. If there is no change in her energy at all, there may be respect, but not desire. Desire creates movement. Neutrality does not. Touch may also appear, but subtly. Light taps on your arm, removing lint from your clothing, small gestures of comfort. These are unconscious tests of closeness and safety. Her response to your presence matters as much as her actions. Sometimes she may briefly pull back. This is often misread as disinterest, but in many cases, it's internal conflict, attraction rising faster than her comfort. She steps back to regulate, then returns with more emotional presence. As attachment deepens, she becomes more observant. She notices how you treat others, how you behave under stress, and what your natural state is when you are not performing. She builds a psychological picture based on patterns, not moments. Attention also shifts. She may check her phone more, remember small details, or adjust her availability. Desire reorganizes attention, and attention reveals priority. Even her presentation can subtly shift, not for display, but alignment with how she feels internally. Emotional investment may also bring subtle jealousy, not dramatic, but visible in tone changes or brief withdrawal. A key sign is availability. She lingers longer, stays in conversation, and doesn't rush to leave. Emotional presence becomes comfortable rather than threatening. Silence stops feeling awkward. Beneath all visible behavior is the internal shift. Resistance softening, curiosity turning into trust. From a psychological perspective, the nervous system moves away from defense into bonding states. Emotional safety activates attachment processes in the brain that reinforce connection. That is why emotional safety is the foundation of physical openness. not separate from it. And often the earliest sign of this shift is not intensity, but calmness, a sense of ease that wasn't there before. Because before desire becomes physical, it first becomes safe. I didn't feel rushed. I didn't feel judged. What I felt was safe. And that sense of safety created space. Within that space, something subtle but powerful begins to happen. Desire has room to grow. That's often how it unfolds, not in urgency or pressure, but in calm emotional alignment. Another key sign of emotional surrender is how she responds to your leadership, not dominance or control, but steady direction. When she starts asking, "What do you think?" more often, or becomes comfortable letting you choose small decisions, it is not dependency. It is trust. Her nervous system is recognizing stability. Women don't surrender to chaos. They respond to consistency, emotional steadiness, and predictable presence. Watch how she reacts when life becomes uncertain. If she looks to you for reassurance or leans in emotionally instead of shutting down, she is beginning to see you as an anchor. Before emotional openness deepens, testing often appears. She may share something vulnerable or briefly create distance to observe your response. This is not manipulation. It is risk assessment. Her system is asking, "Is this safe?" If you respond with calmness and emotional control, her defenses soften. If you react with pressure or insecurity, she withdraws. Emotional intelligence becomes the deciding factor. Emotional safety matters more than intensity. Intensity can feel like attraction, but safety is what sustains it. From a self-reflection perspective, the question becomes, are you creating emotional security or rushing toward closeness without trust? Because connection without readiness often leads to emotional disconnection afterward. As attachment grows, behavior changes. She adjusts her schedule slightly, checks in more often, remembers details, and creates space for interaction. Attention begins to reorganize around emotional priority. When your availability shifts slightly, her response reveals investment. If she reaches out or checks in, it is emotional engagement, not indifference. Nurturing behaviors also appear, asking if you've eaten, remembering your stress, or offering small care. These are early signs of attachment expressed through behavior. Her presence becomes more relaxed, eye contact lasts longer, laughter becomes natural, movements soften, she stops managing every moment and starts simply being in it. That is emotional opening, but consent and readiness are not the same. Emotional signals never replace clarity or mutual agreement. Respecting pace builds trust, rushing breaks it. In quiet moments, close silence, steady presence, no urgency, her body may show subtle activation, deeper breathing, heightened awareness, emotional presence. This is biology interacting with safety. Behavioral synchrony may also appear. She mirrors posture, tone, or rhythm unconsciously. This alignment reflects nervous system attunement and increases emotional closeness. Emotional maturity is shown in restraint. When she opens up, slowing down instead of escalating strengthens trust. Sometimes the most powerful response is calm presence and patience. A simple reassurance like, "We'll go at your pace," creates safety, and safety often draws her closer naturally. As bonding deepens, she becomes sensitive to consistency and emotional presence. She notices reliability, follow-through, and whether she feels chosen, not through words, but actions. She may become reflective or quiet at times. This is emotional processing, not distance. She is evaluating emotional risk. In these moments, presence matters more than explanation. Shared silence becomes intimacy when it feels safe. Eventually, a shift occurs. Her body relaxes. Her energy stops scanning and settles. She is no longer evaluating, she is experiencing. This is not loss of self, but conscious opening. After emotional closeness, consistency and care reinforce trust. Emotional neglect creates rupture. Emotional presence strengthens attachment. At the core, real intimacy is never chaotic. It feels calm, mutual, and natural. No chasing, no convincing, just alignment. Your role is not to control that process, but to be steady enough to hold it. Because desire may begin in attraction, but it only becomes meaningful in safety. And safety is what turns connection into something real. In the end, What all of this really comes down to is not signals, strategies, or overanalyzing behavior. It is emotional safety. When a woman feels safe with you, everything else unfolds naturally. Her guard lowers, her presence softens, and connection begins to deepen without force or confusion. But when safety is missing, no amount of attraction or chemistry can sustain real intimacy. True closeness is never built through urgency. It is built through consistency, patience, and emotional steadiness. A man who is grounded, aware, and respectful of pace creates the kind of environment where trust can grow without pressure. And that is the real foundation of surrender. Not control, not guessing games, but mutual comfort and emotional alignment. Because in the end, desire may spark the connection, but it is safety that allows it to survive, deepen, and become meaningful.